No! Stay away!
Wait! Come back!
No, I don't want to die!
I need to tell you something. It's about Sneak Energy. It's a sugar-free energy drink. 12 calories, no sugar, and it's packed with minerals, vitamins, and amino acids. My favorite flavor is sour apple. Come try some.
Oh, damn, I got away from that thing. I'm so thirsty. I could do with a drink. Oh, crap, there he is!
Ah, I found you.
Oh, no, he's catching up with me! Why is he passing me a drink? Oh, that's so much better. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. Ah!
They always run. At least I have this tasty drink.
Welcome to The Weird Shack, the podcast that explores the weird and spooky. I'm Ollie Tobbles with my co-hosts Reeski.
What's on?
Siege.
Hey guys.
And Jordan with Stick.
Hello, my shackers.
And today we're talking about unexplained sounds. So I will start today. So in 1999, a Russian government set up a team to investigate some tectonic plates in Siberia. The team was led by a dude called Dr. Azakov. The Russian scientists in Siberia drilled a hole 9 miles deep into the ground. They broke into a cave wall, and they could tell they broke into some sort of like opening because the drill started like rotating wildly, and like they said it smashed into the walls of hell and stuff. So they went to record the tectonic plates to like see what they sounded like, I guess. They lowered this microphone down the hole, but they stopped when they started hearing screams coming from the hole. And this camera had a mic attached to it. No, had a heat signature scanner attached to it. The hole was apparently 1,000 Celsius or 1,832 Fahrenheit. So hot. But the drill, they said the drill broke into hell itself, and they dropped the mic in to record the Earth's shifting plates. What they heard instead was the disturbing sounds of hell. So in the original Sounds from Hell, from this enhanced audio that we're going to listen to in a minute, it's extremely disturbing and eerie, because you can clearly make out high and deep female and male voice tones. The scientists claimed that once the sounds started coming through, they could hardly believe what they were hearing. They heard human voices screaming in agony. They claimed to hear millions of people sounded like they were in hell. The sounds of hell and the suffering souls screaming. Or they were just having like a fucking insane party down 9 miles down into the crust. So yeah. After this disturbing discovery, most of the scientists quit their job because the event scared them that badly. Yeah, it's just weird and spooky. And a newspaper covered the story pretty much straight away as soon as they had the recordings and stuff. But the Russian government seized all photos and recordings. But some of the people managed to actually hide the recordings. And then in 2009, one recording was emailed to a radio station in America. And this is the sound now. yeah, so that was it.
Very eerie.
See, is it just me, or did that sound a lot like a football match or something? Like the cheering crowd, like shouting and screaming.
Yeah, a little bit.
They do have football in hell, apparently.
But yeah, it's just weird sounds. Like you could clearly make out like guys and girls and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I remember it really creeped me out when I heard it then. It's definitely one of those things that like makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
So they were just mining in Siberia, like, oh, we're gonna try and record what tectonic plates sound like, and then this is
Yeah,
like,
pretty
what happened,
much.
basically.
Government set up a small team
Right.
to like drill down to record the tectonic plates and stuff.
It's interesting. It's interesting that the government took all the stuff away as well,
Yeah,
which almost makes you think there's like a secret like government facility or something that they were recording. Maybe there's like a deep underground like Russian base where they're torturing people and trying to get information out of them. Then they recorded it.
yeah.
So you say that when they first did these recordings and that the media were basically all over it straight away. Is that maybe
Yeah.
the reason why the government like seized all the recordings, or did they seize the recordings first and the media somehow got some of the recordings?
I don't know, but it was the Russian government that sent them on that trip anyway. So technically, it is the rights to have that recording.
Makes sense, yeah.
But obviously, someone was like, "I'm gonna sneak this sound clip,"
Well,
and 10 years later, I'm gonna send it to America.
to be fair, like, if I was a scientist and I heard those sort of noises, I would probably be like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Well, loads of people got freaked out and quit, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's understandable.
Yeah.
But also, if I was one of those people and I quit that, I would try and get that out to the media,
Yeah.
just to try
But
and get some information.
It's weird
on
that
it.
they sent it to America. I guess because if they did it in Russia, they probably could have got
God knows.
jail
I don't
time or
suppose
something.
there was
Yes,
any sort of
probably.
testimonies or anything from any of the researchers, was there?
No, not really. They all just quit. That's all I got from it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Almost seems like a cover-up.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
You're very quiet, Risky. What's your thoughts on this?
To me, it just sounds, as I said, just sounds like a football game, just like layered over with other like noises, just to give it more of a spooky screaminess to it. But at the same time, it could just be a natural thing of like gases escaping from the crevice,
Yeah.
or
With the shiftings and stuff.
yeah,
Or the echoing.
Could
be like
could be
it,
the effects of the heat on the microphone, even.
that as well.
Yeah.
Be a combination of both. It could be gases escaping from different cracks in the hole, which give it the different tones and the different sounds it was making. But at the same time, a lot of it did sound like it was like someone shouting over like a speaker sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, like an announcer, like some sort of sporting event, maybe.
Possibly.
I do
Yeah.
think it was just general noise interference from being that far down. Because how deep were they again?
9 miles?
Wow, that's very, very deep.
You say 9 or 19? I thought you said 19 for some reason.
No, it was 9 miles.
Yeah. Another part of it is also the fact that there's like a 10-year gap between this recording actually being heard, so that could easily just be a fake.
It could be.
Like someone could have just made that and sent it saying, "Oh yeah, this was this thing from back then." You know.
Yeah, true. The government, or the Russian government, could still have all the proper recordings, as you say, fake what someone made after
It could have
seeing
just
it.
been, yeah, it could have just been that they did this mining thing. They quit because they would be treated badly, because like, I don't imagine they were being treated that well if they were mining like that down to the tectonic plates or whatever. I just can't imagine that being the most enjoyable experience. So maybe a bunch of them just quit, and it seemed quite suspicious at the time, and then later someone like fabricated this whole story. But I don't know.
Possibly.
Didn't you say though at the time of when this first happened, it was in the newspapers?
Yeah, they like rushed it out really quickly.
Yeah. So as I said, they could have like, Russian government could take all the stuff. Someone later on found out about it like from the old newspapers, and then decided to bring it up again and made their own like audio dub to send out to get more attention to it.
Yeah, it is definitely a strange thing, but I think like there's a lot of weird stuff that like goes on in Russia that like is very like weird looking in, you know. I think there was actually a thing I was going to talk about on the Bigfoot episode about this like very like well-known thing that happened in Russia and stuff like that. Maybe I'll talk about it in a future episode, but there's a lot of interesting stories that come out of Russia for sure.
Yeah, we could do like a catch-up episode where we chuck in loads of different stuff that we left out.
Well, we can always do another episode on Bigfoots and stuff and things like that.
Well, Russia is a rather big country, so it wouldn't be surprising if the amount of weird stuff that could go on there.
Yeah, just have an episode called Weird Russia.
Yeah, we could do that. Alright, so should we get on to the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Chris?
Yeah. So being the sort of guy I am, my sound is coming from space. Like most of my topics, I like to have them centered around, unless we're doing specific things. Have any of you guys heard the WoW signal before?
No.
I've heard of it. I can't remember if I've actually heard the recording.
I have,
Ideal.
and I have heard both. Yeah.
Ideal. So one guy that's never heard of it, one guy that's heard of it, not heard of recording, one guy that's heard both. Ideal. So basically, WoW signal, it was a radio signal on August the 15th in 1977 that was heard. Initially it was recorded by a large radio telescope called Big Ear in I believe it was Ohio State University. But essentially it was just doing what it did. It was monitoring a part of the sky. A few days later, an astronomer by the name of Jerry R. Emmon, I think his last name's pronounced, he was going through all the recordings, and essentially what it does, it listens to all the sounds and that from the background noise, etc., and it uses a numbering system to determine the intensity of the signals that they hear in that. So 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high, and then it also uses letters of the alphabet as well once it goes past 10, I believe. In the signals that he was recording, it was printing it off, and he came across the digits 6EQUJ5, and he circled this and wrote the comment "wow" next to it, which is where the WoW signal originates from, the name at least. But this sound, or the signal that they detected from space, is basically very loud, very powerful. It was louder than any of the background noise in the sky that night as well. The actual signal lasted roughly about 72 seconds. A lot of people have used it as evidence for extraterrestrial life, mainly because of the fact that we don't know what this signal is, where it's come from, or anything like that. Beautiful, let's play it. Headphone users, beware, this can be quite loud. So yeah, headphone warning there. And there we go. So,
That was some
Just,
crazy shit.
end my screen share. So, tell me, what do you guys think about the spooky sound?
It was very spooky. It was very
sounds
loud.
Like it might... very loud. It sounds like it might be like just a really bad recording.
Fair enough.
Like it just sounds like static from like another device being near it.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Like if you hold
Like
a
when-
microphone too close to something electrical.
Yeah, like when you have two radios really close to each other, like walkie-talkies.
Hmm.
Like when you move them back and forth, they go wow, 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 like that. So it sounds like it could possibly be something along machinery interfering with machinery.
How about yourself, Jordan?
Well, going off what Ollie said, like if it is machinery interfering with machinery, what machinery is interfering with it?
Yeah.
Because that could be a thing. It's like, I'm assuming at the time that this technology wasn't widely available, right?
No, it was
With
basically
the
just
big
a
ear.
big radar dish.
Was this like the first of its kind?
This was
type
like
thing?
the first signal like this with that intensity ever detected, I believe.
Well, sorry, I mean like the actual device that detected it, the big ear. Is that like the first of its kind that could actually
I don't
detect
believe
stuff
it was
like
the
this?
first.
But it was definitely like the more advanced.
One of the more advanced, I believe, and after this event, definitely one of the most known as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because like if it was interference, maybe it's interference from that device and another device. Maybe it's somewhere in space. Maybe somewhere else on the planet where there's some sort of advanced device. But then you'd think that would be a more common occurrence if it was on the planet itself.
Did they say what? Did they say what it could have been? Like, what did they say? Like, oh, it could have been. It might have been a plane. It might have been extraterrestrial.
From what I've researched and been able to find out, there's loads of theories that people have come out with. One, the obvious being aliens sending a message, or we found a distress signal, or something like that, communications. I believe at the time astronomers tried ruling everything out from signal interference like airplanes, like transmissions or other radio signals being detected.
Yeah.
I believe they did rule everything out and just left it as an unexplained sound, basically.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting, like just how like long it goes on for as well.
How about yourself, Reese?
See, I've looked quite a bit into that WoW signal thing, and first off, the one thing you got wrong is not 1 to 10, it's 1 to 9.
1 to 9.
And then anything above 9 is the letters. And secondly, the actual audio isn't real.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, when they got the thing, it was like a printout, and that was it. They didn't actually have any recordings of it.
Yeah. What I probably should have said, this was an interpretation of it more than anything.
Right.
Something that has been physically
Mostly,
made.
mostly audio. What's out on the internet about this is a lot of it's, or one of, some of them are, I believe it's that one, is a recording of a police radio, which has been like dragged out, so it's the time you play it is longer than what it actually was.
Oh, so it's been like stretched.
Yeah. Which it does sound spooky and whatnot, but when it is like sped up to normal sort of sound, you can actually hear it. Because I've heard that exact clip, an audio clip, and I've watched plenty of videos about it. And yeah, one of them was this person literally taking a clip, the soundtrack, speeding it back up, and you can hear it because you hear like you even hear it like at the beginning of that the actual audio clip.
Yeah.
It does sound a lot like a walkie-talkie radio thing going shh sort of thing.
Yeah, as Ollie was saying, it sounded like walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
So it's a printed off
The-
piece of
Yeah.
Paper, essentially, yeah.
some paper, and people have tried to
So basically,
make it into a sound.
Yeah.
So people have been like, "This is weird. We'll
Yeah.
make it into a sound."
Yeah.
Well, because if it's a picture of like a waveform, then you can translate
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really a
and try and
picture of a
replicate it.
waveform, though. It's like
that. Is it not even that advanced?
no,
more
it's
basic.
literally the thing is like one, as Chris said, like one for a few
Mm.
different letters, and then a 5 at the end.
Mm.
Where if we had the right thing, like I think we could essentially like get how it would sound from using that, but
Yeah.
no one really has done a proper one of it. As a load of it is like quite
So basically,
weird around
a lot
it.
of these recordings are usually fabricated.
most of the time,
that's
yeah.
what
So it'd be
So
hard
they
to
found
figure
they
out.
found they like had this whatever it was, the file, the printing, and then they were like, "Oh, this is out of the ordinary.
Hmm.
Let's record it."
Well, so basically, they couldn't. The ear couldn't actually record sound. It would
It scripted
basically record it, as in it would draw an image.
Yeah, yeah.
It would print it
Yeah,
out
like-
in like numbers and letters, like sort of like
Yeah.
binary sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right,
Hmm.
yeah.
But the actual sound or the signal, the way it picked up is very real. It's the basic
Yeah, yeah,
interference
yeah,
out
It
in
did
space.
actually pick up a noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just we don't actually have a recording of
No,
that noise.
because there was no actual way for them
Yeah.
to actually record it.
Yeah.
And-
So Reese isn't saying that like it doesn't exist.
No,
He's saying that the recording itself doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it
And
couldn't
people have done it to
possibly
make
have
it
been
more
done.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have tried to replicate it, or just
Yeah.
people have just messed around and
Yeah, because
done fakes.
on the actual picture of the wow signal where we wrote down wow exclamation mark, most of the numbers on it are ones, like slow numbers. Nothing goes above, I think it was like 6, which is all just like the background noise and whatnot of it all.
Yeah.
And then obviously that gets that one bit which goes from 1 all the way up to like I think it was like J or U at the highest, and then went back down and did that 5. So
Yeah.
it's a very real like signal thing, which is very unexplained, but unfortunately mostly audio clips of it all are not real at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
So yeah, Chris, you got destroyed with Reese's
I
knowledge.
did. I
Well,
mean,
still,
I'd
like, it
I'd
is
read
a
a few
thing that happened.
sources
Yeah.
that the recording wasn't real. Probably should have
Yeah.
specified that.
Yeah.
But
To be fair, no, I like the way you did it because you didn't. I much prefer like when you just get presented with a sound and then you get told the background, because like then you can sort of interpret it in your own way a little bit.
Yeah, which is
yeah.
rather funny when like because I was sat here waiting for you and Ollie to talk about it first. How you
Yeah.
both came to like a similar sort of conclusion of like as like mechanical things or something else.
Yeah.
Like interference
Well,
wise.
I have radios and stuff, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I thought it was funny just how you could tell
Well-
from it a little bit.
Yeah.
in regards to the signal, just a
Mhm.
bit more info on them. So the section of the sky that was pointing up, they believe the signal may have originated around the Sagittarius region of the sky. As you may know, the sky's basically named as regions, different regions all over essentially. Obviously all these years they've never really had any explanation what it was, but just recently in 2017 there was a professor of astronomy called Antonio Paris who learned that at the time that Big Ear was pointing in that section of the sky, 2 comets actually passed that part of the sky at the same time as the signal, the WoW signal. Comets being named 266P Christensen, which I'll just refer to as Christensen, and P2008Y2 or Gibbs.
okay.
So these were 2 comments that passed it. So what he suggests is that Big Ear actually picked up the signal of one of the comet's tails passing it as it was recording or listening, should I say.
Maybe they were having a chat when they were flying past.
Possibly, yeah. But he believes that the signal came from Christensen.
Gib wasn't loud enough. He's too quiet.
He weren't yelling loud enough, was he?
He just goes, Gib.
But to test this, he basically used his own radio telescope. Compared to Big Ear, which had the power equivalent to a 57-meter radio telescope, he was only able to use an actual 10-meter radio telescope for his experiment. And what he essentially did was record the same comet, actually, because it's on a certain orbiting path, etc. And he found that the signal that he picked up from it nearly matched the signal that Big Ear picked up. He hasn't actually published this though, but it was a lot weaker, his reasoning for that being his 10-meter dish, and also the fact that the WoW signal was like 40 years ago essentially, so the comet would have lost quite a bit of mass going around on its orbits and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
But he has also admitted that the signal itself that Big Ear picked up, it might not have been from Comet Christensen, but his team has concluded that the sound, they believe, is from a comet itself. So I mean, that what I think with that is that brings up a pretty logical explanation of what it could have been, but I also believe astronomers back then weren't any different to what they are now. I believe they would have tried to have done some recordings of signals from comets, etc., trying to debunk it. So I don't see what Antonio Paris has actually done any different with his team.
But you also said a lot of people thought it could possibly be aliens.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's a transmission from aliens, or like a warning, or a threat.
But then the astronomers think it's comets.
Well, Antonio Paris and his team believe it comes from a comet. Some astronomers believe it can be from a star. There's so many theories in regards to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it would make sense of, like you say, with comets, they have these set paths that they move on. So if you knew how long it took a comet to do a certain thing, you could figure out, oh, it would have been here at this time.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he could figure out, oh, yeah, this comet would have been passing at that time. So it makes sense that they could have recorded that comet. So there is definitely some logic there in his explanation. But yeah, it's whether or not, like you said, it hasn't been released publicly, which kind of, I guess maybe they're just sort of putting all their stuff together. But you'd think it would be one of those things that if you'd had concrete evidence, you'd just put it out there and no one would be able to refute it.
I mean,
But
he published it in a paper for other people to review, but he doesn't actually.
Okay.
From what I could see in the paper, he doesn't list any of his evidence. He just
Right.
merely talks about it, him and his team.
Talks about like the theory behind it as opposed to actually showing.
And they just
Right, I see.
they just say like they picked up a signal that was similar to the WoW signal that Big Ear picked up.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Alright, shall we crack on down to the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's quite kind of reminds me of like the recordings that I've got to show you guys today as well. So, I'm going to be talking about unexplained aquatic sounds.
Ooh, I look forward to this one.
So, the first and possibly the most well-known aquatic noise is the bloop. Now, the bloop, it was an extremely loud noise, several times louder than the loudest known animal, which is the blue whale.
Ooh.
It was recorded on several sensors with ranges of over 5,000 kilometers. So basically, they have these sensors in the sea where they can like record these sounds up to a range of 5,000 kilometers. Basically, they have multiple ones. So if like 3 of them heard a noise, you could draw like a line between the 3, and you could figure out the range of where this noise originates from. So using these recordings, they can locate these noises, locations, and such.
Where was what year was this?
I can't remember now. I feel like it was in the late 90s, I want to say.
Okay.
Maybe it was
just
even
getting
earlier than
Yeah,
that, actually.
I think it was 97 for the Bloop.
Yeah, something like that.
Getting like an image of what the technology was back then.
Yeah. I'm surprised by like the levels of like advancement in this technology, because it is really interesting. Okay, so it was recorded on self-sensors. At the time of its discovery, they did not believe it to be man-made. It didn't sound man-made in origin. So they didn't think it would be like a submarine or like a bomb that someone was setting off for testing or whatever, or anything like that. Right, so let's listen to the actual sound itself.
Ooh, I like aquatic stuff. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. Hopefully I can just swap between the windows.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to? The Kraken.
One day, mate. One day.
Call back. Right, ready?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Sounds like someone took a shit in the ocean.
I was going to say farted under the water, but yeah.
So basically that sound is sped up 16 times the original speed.
Oh.
So bearing that in mind, that sound goes on a hell of a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a bloop, it's like a bloop, like ridiculously extended version. Since its discovery, like initially they weren't too sure on what it was. They have now identified it as what is known as an Ice Quake.
Okay.
It's basically it's similar to the idea of like when like water gets into like between rocks and it like turns into ice and it cracks the rocks. That sort of thing can happen on an iceberg. So an iceberg will just like, it will crack and it will make these like echoing noises that will extend ridiculous distances because they're such large icebergs that they can do it.
And it was louder than a whale.
Yeah, it was ridiculously loud, but obviously it is a very natural sounding thing still, because it's like the movement of two rocks in like just a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's not like a manufactured thing, you know. There's a difference you could tell because it's like more random in nature, I suppose. So that one was identified as an Ice Quake, and there's a few other sounds which they've also confirmed as being made by ice quakes as well, but I think they're still interesting, so I think we should definitely listen to them. This one's called Julia. And again,
I saw this when I was researching.
Julia, yeah.
Yeah.
And Julia, again, this is also sped up 16 times. Okay, I'm going to play that one now.
Yep. Oh. That gave me chills.
See, that just sounds
chills.
like a bit of a whale to me.
Yeah, it does always sound like a whale or like some sort of... It sounds almost like someone talking, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where it was. That's weird.
Yeah, but that's a 10-second video, and that's sped up 16 times again.
For me, that one sounded like something like grinding along the floor, sort of thing, like a.
Yeah, well, that's what they believe it was. Is that it was like the sounds of an iceberg. Some of these sounds, like that one in particular, actually was. They believe it to be the sound of an iceberg grounding itself, which basically where an iceberg will, like Reese was saying, it will drag itself along the bottom of the whatever area it's in or against something else, like grounding itself to a stop. So if it was getting into like more shallow waters, it would drag along the sea floor type thing. So that's actually what they believe that sound it was for Julia. But yeah, it's definitely a creepy one. The next
found that
one,
creepy.
yeah, the next one's called Slow Down, and it's named after the fact that it decreases frequency. And this was actually 7 minutes long originally. Okay. So for 7 minutes, this sound went on. This is a sped up recording of it again. I think also 16 times. But yeah, let's just listen to this one.
Do you know what I think that sounds like?
What?
You know, in Star Wars Episode 3, when Darth Vader finds out Padme's died, he's like, no! Maybe it's that.
Darth Vader sinking or something.
Darth Vader's under the ocean, he's huge, he's bigger than a blue whale. Look, but listening at that, like, that definitely sounds like a whale. Like, I would think that that's whale song if you didn't tell me what it was. And I think for that reason, like, I can get why they at the time were like, oh, this definitely sounds like something natural, because you would associate it with that sort of thing. But again, that one is an iceberg grounding itself, so that's what that sound was.
Are these confirmed?
This is based on triangulation, like I was mentioning earlier.
Right.
If you have, like, this is the thing, they have to have at least 3 sensors pick up this sound. Right. If they do that, they can triangulate between it, and they could sort of figure out what's in that triangle, what could make the noise. And so if they knew that there were icebergs in the area, they could attribute it to the icebergs. So that's basically this sort of idea behind it. Yeah. Right, this is another one. This one's known as Train, because it sounds a bit like a train whistle, which you'll probably see when listening to it. And again, this one's also sped up 16 times. It's a little bit longer, this one.
Damn, that was a long train ride.
I know, yeah. It does sound weirdly like a train, though. I do get.
I don't know why, but with that sound, I just kind of, for some reason, picture a jet ski in my head. Like when people were revving the jet skis, going forward, they slow down, turn around, rev a bit more, keep going, slow down, and repeat. I just picture a jet ski in my head with that.
A jet ski isn't going to be picked up like 5,000 kilometers apart, you know. It's when you think about how ridiculously loud these noises are and how spread out they are as well. Like it's just so unusual, and I can understand why there's so many creepy ideas behind them. Like people think it's the sound of some sort of giant sea life that we don't know of. Some people have said it's like Cthulhu and stuff like that.
Well, it could be. There's so much ocean that's not been explored.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. It's interesting. I mean, these are all the explained ones. I've got 2 now which are unexplained.
Ooh.
And they're unexplained for not the most exciting reasons. So the first one is called Upsweep. And it's interesting because this sound is more seasonal. It peaks during spring and autumn in the year. That's when it can be heard most often.
Oh, so it's been heard multiple times.
Yeah, this one has. Its rough location has been identified, so they have triangulated it, but they haven't found the exact source. And for that reason, it's considered unidentified. Right, so let's play this one. This one's quite interesting. This is upsweep.
So is this one sped up at all?
Yeah, that one's sped up. That's actually 20 times faster than the original recording.
Wow. So it sounded like a siren sped up.
Yeah, I was
But
thinking
obviously
Yeah.
it'll be
an
like...
alarm.
Yeah. The only thing that we really know about these areas, though we don't know the exact origin of the noises, they are usually areas of considerable seismic movement or like volcanic activity. So there'd be like underwater volcanoes and things like that doing movements. So kind of similar to what you were saying in yours, Ollie, about the tectonic plates. Kind of similar in that way, and that recording in particular, in a way, kind of reminds me of the Hell recording. I don't know why. I think it's just like the fact that it's like this sort of continual noise that has like sort of a pattern to it almost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's the underwater version of the sounds of hell.
Where's this one meant to be like located?
The exact origin is unknown.
Okay.
But it's like has a triangulation like the other ones do. Basically, it's out in the sea, and they don't know the exact origin because, like we were saying, we don't know everything about the sea, and we can't go down there and find out exactly what it is because it's too expensive to do so. It's not on our top list of priorities, I guess.
Where's it being recorded from?
Where's it being recorded from?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure on the exact record, but I know that they have these sensors like throughout the ocean, basically.
Yeah, so there's different areas.
Yeah, so they're all kind of from all over the place.
Yeah.
Right, there's one more.
Okay.
This is another unidentified sound. It's known as whistle. And this one's considered unidentified because it was only recorded by one of the hydrophones, which is what they use to record these. So they couldn't actually triangulate a location because they didn't have enough recordings. So not very interesting, but this is a 16 times one as well. Okay.
That's quite uneventful, that one, actually.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting.
Towards the end, like the last 30 seconds, it sounded a little bit more different.
That one sort of reminds me of like being in a car and going down like a highway while it's raining. I don't know why it reminds me of that.
Right, yeah.
It sort of reminds me of like
yeah.
rain hitting the car like really heavy, and like you can hear like the sound of like a car going by every so often.
Like the
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of wind more than anything. Like just hearing the wind blowing.
Yeah, so it's windy and raining, like the wind is hitting against the car, and like that's sort of what that reminds me of. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just a weird nostalgia for certain things I have.
Probably
But
our
yeah,
brain
so-
trying to compare it to a sound that we might know, innit?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You just try and relate things to stuff you recognise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most of these sounds are attributed to icebergs, and potentially volcanic movements, seismic activity in the ocean. But like we were saying earlier, because we still don't know a lot about the ocean. You know, we still discover species, and you know, maybe there's something out there that's capable of making these noises, and it doesn't want to be seen. You never know.
I kind of, a part of me hopes there is a singing crab called Sebastian. Singing.
A massive one.
Yeah, big one, but he's singing under the sea.
Talk about giant crabs reminds me of that area. Have you seen that aerial photo before? Where there's like these rocks and they look like a giant crab.
Yes,
Have you ever seen
I've
that?
seen that one. I've seen that one.
Yeah, maybe put that in the video.
It was in like the last couple of years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it was massive. It was on the shoreline. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that just reminded me of that story. Maybe that crab is the one that's doing it.
Maybe if Cthulhu's having a little sing.
See, talking about Cthulhu, if I remember correctly from I'm looking into all the sounds I was dead. Because I did actually look into it. One of the ones what Jordan showed us, if I remember correctly, one of them is supposed to be in the area of roughly from one of the Cthulhu author guys' cities.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's true. I want to say it's the Bloop, because that's the most well-known one. Yeah. But that one has since had an explanation. But yeah, I remember at the time, yeah, I think it is in the supposed location of where Cthulhu is and all that stuff.
Yeah. But talking about the Bloop again, from what I remember reading of it as well, one of the main people which like found it or whatever still believes it could be like a giant creature.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Well,
Yeah.
it is interesting because it's such a wide range. Like, it's difficult to pinpoint an exact thing. Like I said, they can kind of triangulate it, but even then, if it is like an organic thing that can move around, then you're not going to be able to like reliably
Pick it up again.
record it or anything. Yeah. I mean, I think in that regard, the most interesting one for me is the upsweep one, because it's heard on a relatively regular basis.
Yeah.
You said it was like the like springtime pretty much, didn't you?
Spring and autumn. Yeah, that's its peak times that they've heard it.
Just a wild theory about it. Could it be like some sort of like creatures mating season?
It could be. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's like the area they go to
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
Sebastian the Crab smashing time.
Well, it is really interesting because, I mean, like, we don't know where a lot of species go to breed. We don't know where great white sharks go to breed, and we still don't know. To this day, we don't know where these sharks go, where they meet up, where they mate, where they have babies. We don't know any of that. Even with like tracking devices, we're unable to pinpoint locations. And you know, maybe these animals are meeting up in this location during that time of year, and they're making weird noises.
Yeah, maybe.
mating calls and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of
Or
animals
just the
do
signs
that.
of them getting freaky.
Yeah.
See, we need some sort of camera that's designed for underwater that live streams all the time, so we can see it. They could call it the Smash Cam.
Oh dear.
Well, they could. If you don't know where like sharks go to breed and stuff, like it could be a species going to a certain area of the sea,
Yeah.
and then like they have their own massive group call.
Yeah, potentially.
Like a swarm of fish could like make a weird ass noise if the
But it would have to be a lot, though, wouldn't it?
yeah.
To make a noise that's
Just
like
like a
louder than a
massive-
blue whale.
Like a massive
Maybe
group of
it's-
tunas
yeah.
slapping together.
So many they're just shuffling,
were
scraping
doing-
noises.
They're doing the tuna slap out there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. The ocean is just interesting because we still don't know so much about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why sharks are so at risk at the moment because, yeah, other countries they hunt them for like shark fin soup, things like that, or a lot of them get caught up in nets fishing for other animals. But we don't know how these creatures breed, so it's not like we can replicate it. Like a lot of animals, like you think, oh, they're going to go extinct soon, but oh, at least we know how to breed them in captivity, so we can actually keep them alive. But there's some animals that we literally don't know anything about, and most of them are these aquatic animals because they're a lot harder to monitor.
Yeah.
It's like all the great white sharks they've tried to have in captivity always die.
Yeah,
Not
you
been
can't
like a
keep them in
single
captivity.
survivor.
Yeah, it's because in the wild they travel such distances, like all over the world. That's what they do. They constantly migrate around, and we don't know what they're doing a lot of the time. And because of that, they're just so mysterious. We don't know a lot about them. I think there was an aquarium that, like you said, there have been aquariums that have attempted to keep great whites, but they can't keep them for a long time because a lot of the time they keep them for a bit and release them. Because they don't know how they work, and they need to travel. Apparently that's just part of how they survive. I guess they go to certain paces in the ocean, because like, oh, I need to go here to eat this sort of thing because that gives me this certain vitamin or whatever that I require to live. You know, I don't know. It's definitely interesting how little we know about it all still. You know,
maybe we can do an episode on like creatures washed up, because there is like that weird raccoon that they thought washed up.
There's so many like quote unquote like unidentified I can't remember what they call them now. They call them like globsters or something like that.
Yeah,
they're like
it
these
that.
like glob monsters, and they're just basically like a big blob, and people don't really know what they are, and we try and like put explanations into them. But yeah, there's definitely, the ocean is definitely, it freaks me the fuck out. Like when I see pictures of like looking into the deep darkness of the ocean, that freaks me out. I think it's called like thalassophobia, the fear of like the like deep dark ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
It just freaks me out going into
the
the water.
ocean's like meant to be like 7 miles deep, isn't it?
God knows.
Something like that. And like the further you get down, it's the harsher. Like certain amount of miles down, like a submarine can't even handle it.
Well, yeah, it's pressure. Yeah.
So
yeah,
certain people haven't recorded that certain area of the ocean.
Well, we're only just starting to actually be able to make technology that can do that. I think that whole thing with James Cameron when he had that.
Yeah, didn't he send a sub down?
Yeah, well, I think he was literally in it.
Yeah,
he was literally in the sub going down there, and that was like the first time they'd ever done anything like that.
Although I'm pretty sure there was I don't know if it was a Russian sub or an American sub that went to the bottom of the ocean once. Quite a while ago. I remember watching a documentary about it. I can't remember its name though, but as they were going down, all the glass was cracking on the submarine and that. But they basically just went down until they touched bottom, quite literally, and then after that just emerged back up basically.
Yeah,
I do remember watching a documentary about that.
Well, I think I mentioned it before, like how we didn't know if giant squids actually existed for a long time. Like that's where like the stories of the Kraken and stuff come from these giant squid that we didn't actually have any concrete proof of. We'd like found evidence of them. It wasn't until people started finding bodies and stuff, because I guess our ability to fish and how we fish changed, so we accidentally would find them, and we found the giant squid and we were like, oh wow, this is massive. And then since then there's the colossal squid, which is bigger than the giant squid. It's huge, and it supposedly it's the reason that a lot of time when you get washed up sperm whales, they have these like markings on them, and we didn't know for like ages what these markings were, but apparently they're from these colossal squid, and they have like these like really terrifying like suckers that like proper grip into whatever they're fighting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting stuff because apparently that's what the majority of like a sperm whale's diet is like stuff like that, like giant squid, because they're able to go extremely deep, sperm whales, more than other whales are, and they go down and they fight these giant squid and they eat them. You know, it's fascinating, this stuff.
Well, the giant squid's meant to weigh like 280 kilograms.
I don't
That's
know.
that's like the average, and like the colossal squid's like nearly 500.
Yeah, and
crazy.
we didn't know these things existed until
Because
like recent history.
Yeah, and you won't know if like it's any bigger than that. That's on average.
Yeah.
So
I think
it could be 800.
I'm not even sure like what if they've got like concrete like recordings or proof of them, or if it's literally just going off of like these markings. Or I haven't looked into it too much, but I remember seeing stuff about it before, and it just freaked me out. The idea that there's this huge squid that we didn't even know existed for like the majority of like human history. It's crazy to think about. And what's to say that we don't discover something tomorrow that has the exact same situation, where we've sort of seen slight bits of evidence, but we've never put together the whole picture of like some life form out there that maybe makes these sounds that we've talked about. I don't know. You know, it's not impossible because it's happened before. So it's definitely weird to think about.
Alright, so I will end it here for us, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed doing that.
Definitely eerie to listen to.
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
Yeah. Something about sounds, they just get into your bones, don't they? And it's freak you out.
Like the ocean's definitely a weird one.
The ocean freaks me out so much.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like going in a swimming pool at night used to freak me out, let alone the ocean.
Well, we went canoeing down the estuary.
Yeah.
That was weird at night. Like it was
Yeah.
pitch black, wasn't it? We
Yeah,
just went
just-
from the moonlight.
Just like water in darkness is just so creepy because it's just like there's no light. It just looks like oil.
And then it can
Like
be
you're
like
just
misty
surrounded
as
by
well.
oil. Yeah, freaks me out.
Alright, so what would everyone like to do for the next episode?
So anyone got any ideas in particular?
Not what I can
I'm-
think of straight away, no.
I'm looking forward to the Mothman, but I want to like proper research to make it a good one.
Yeah, maybe you should put off the Mothman for now. Maybe
Yeah.
like episode 10 or something could be Mothman.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
Alright, so thank you for joining us, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if anyone has any comments or anything, leave it down below. If anyone wants to like and subscribe, we'd appreciate that. Help our channel get bigger.
Also email if you
Yes,
want to email. The only reason I say that again is because, you know, maybe you don't want to share something so personal in a YouTube comment. Maybe you prefer to email it. Fair enough. You know. Be interested to hear about it, for sure.
Alright, so thank you for tuning in, guys. And we'll see you in the next one.
Adios.
Thank you, Shackers.
Cheers, Shackers.
Thanks, Shackers. We're forcing that to be a thing.
That's the thing now.
Hope not.
Yeah, same.
Reese hates it, therefore we're going to do it.
So this here is some art sent in by one of our fans called Ellie. Thank you for sending that in, Ellie.